me in this platform. This is MSC Course Mastery. That's Med Search Course Mastery, a channel where we aim at mastering concept and concern in medicine and surgery, preclinical years forward. And so of late, we've been focusing, facing only one course for now, the anatomy. And then we go out shopping on other preclinical courses from month of August. And now we said we want to start with the good news, okay? So we said good news, okay? The good news for anatomy students. That's where we are starting from. You can see I have about 30 in this season, in this episode, okay? But here is the first word, very important, and here's the last word. Your body is the best textbook. Everything in anatomy exists in you. Very important. And the last thing I have to tell you is that what? You can master anatomy, okay, if you stay positive, if you stay focused on your body, you stay consistent, and you will succeed. Okay, that's very important to me. Okay, now here's run through this thing because we'll be learning something else on thorax, okay, to be specific, thoracic cage. Okay, that's the rib cage. All right, and then we owe ourselves one more topic, the anatomy of the ribs, before we fly into diaphragm. Or we may need to take diaphragm, we need to take lungs and all that before we get into here. But whatever is the important thing is to start. Like we said, I said, if you see anatomy as your body, you can tap your body, you can, okay, see your limb, okay, it means you can know anatomy. So each time you're learning, you try to assume, to try to address, try to analyze, pick which part of the body am I looking at. Anatomy is not hard, okay, as it seems. With the right approach, you can master it. That's what I want to tell you. There's this good news in anatomy. There are 30 simple observations that will boost your confidence in what? In this anatomy. Number one, I said very important is that your body is the best textbook. And I can stay with that to study the whole anatomy. And the last one is you can master anatomy if you stay positive, if you study positively, if you stay focused on, if you're consistent, you can succeed. All right. Okay, that's very important. Now hear this, you cannot master anatomy if you cannot foster anatomy. You cannot master anatomy if you cannot plaster anatomy. You cannot master anatomy if you cannot faster anatomy. Wow, you've never heard someone say that before. You cannot master anatomy if you cannot blaster anatomy. You cannot master anatomy if you cannot raster anatomy. If you cannot master anatomy if you cannot caster anatomy. You cannot master anatomy if you cannot baster anatomy. You cannot master anatomy, cannot vaster anatomy, cannot taster anatomy, cannot scatter anatomy. If you cannot scatter anatomy, you cannot master anatomy. What does that mean? When we say foster anatomy, it means build and encourage understanding of concept. When you study something, ask yourself, where does it relate to? Enjoy relationship. People find pleasure in relationship. People find pleasure in relations, in relationship, in relating, in connecting. There is this fulfillment when there is connection. You connect with somebody, you know somebody, you know somebody that knows somebody, you know somebody that knows somebody. If you don't know anatomy in such a way that it knows something else, if you don't relate it to something, if you don't let it relate to something, each time you learn anatomy, you discover that it's going to whistle from your brain. So it's good you learn anatomy the way we learn anatomy in this. Next one is plaster anatomy. Fix knowledge gaps by reviewing and reinforcing. Watch what makes a video long is because we try to review, we try to recite what we've done before, and we try to reinforce, we try to say it with gesture. You don't just stay one place and say it, try to looking at anatomy today. No, you say it out, you say it loud, you think aloud, you guessed aloud, you loud it, okay? You say it with strength, you say it with anger, you say it with joy, you say it with excitement, you say it with mesmerization, you say it with vigor, you say it with boldness and confidence. You are not afraid. Am I sure this thing I'm doing, they will ask in exam, am I sure this I'm doing, I've even started, am I sure this thing I'm doing, I can compare myself? No, it's not about comparing, it's about about consistent. It's about being consistent. If you can be consistent, one fine day the consistent will overtake the talented. I will never forget that. A friend once said, I said, if you can be consistent, don't bother whether you are gifted, you went to good school, you have good teachers, you have good structures, you have good things to do, you have bone to use and study, you have cadaver to use and no, don't count what you don't have. Count on what you have. I can say that again. Do not count what you don't have. You count on what you have. That's why I said you can master anatomy if you stay positive. Okay, so that's that. You review now. Next one, faster. Improve speed in learning and recalling information. Yes, first when you are learning, watch our video. When we are learning, we do it slowly. Afterward, we make another short video, usually 5 to 10 or 15 or 20 minutes video. Okay, trying to tell you in a fast presentation what we have learned. And that's why we bring this corridor of study shop. Okay, people have workshop where they go and practice, where they go and perform, where they go and operate, when they go and build. But here we have study shop, or you can call it study studio. We are still planning on study studio, but here is study shop where you go and learn, go and leave it there, go and say it there, go and write it there, go and drop it there, what you have learned. Okay, where you go and make requests, where you go and make a suggestion, where you go and listen to what all others are doing. This is it. Next one. You cannot master anatomy if you cannot blast anatomy. What does that mean? You boost your performance with focus, intense study. You boost it. There's this blast. When they talk about blast, you can think about that. Okay, so you boost it. You must be able to boost. Are you just studying with just a book? Are you just studying with just a bone? Are you just studying with just a video? Are you just studying with just anything? No. If it's video, this is just one of the best videos you can think of. In fact, can I put it to you? This is one best video you can use to understand any topic in anatomy, because we said if there's anything you want to learn, drop in the comment section. I want to learn this. Now remember, we have queue of this thing, but if you join the studio, MSC Mastery, MED spacebar SURG spacebar CORSE Message Course Mastery. If you join that channel, you see a workshop sent to you there. You join that workshop and then ask if you can do that. To be faster for us. If not, we'll treat the queue that is there for us to treat topics upon topics and material upon material. We want to take it bit by bit, mastering anatomy in piecemeal. Do you follow? Okay, so it's about 3:25 now. We're going to start real job in 3:30. So I can go on and on and on and on, but I want to say this: foster anatomy. There's something they call foster parents. There's something they call foster. Okay, once they call join. Something they call alternative. There's something they call proxy. There's something they call the default. There's something they call optional. It's something they call in case, or plan B. That is it. What is your plan B? Book to study. Do you have something else to study? Can you use it? Can you bring it out? That is very important. Okay. So another thing I really want to share. Remember I told you, I said good news from the heart, good news from the thorax, and then things I wish I knew if... Okay, let's put that. Things I wish I knew about anatomy. Okay, so I'm going to look at this once again. I take a little here from the good news, take a little here from this. Now I want to look at things I wish I knew. And I'm going to share with you based on things I wish I knew from students who failed anatomy, from students who passed on the average, they didn't pass about anatomy, on students who had distinction in anatomy, not just anatomy, in biochemistry, in physiology, and in every other course they are doing. What were the things I wish I knew? Can you fast forward that and learn? Let's learn that. All right. Okay, I'm going to give you a bit of it, and then we are going to go on to what we need to study. Now, from a failure, okay, notice distinction. Let's start from a failure, from a student who failed. 20 things I wish I knew about anatomy. Number one, I wish I had started earlier instead of waiting for exams week. That's very important. I'll leave it there, no explanation. I wish I had stopped reading the heart passively, okay? Reading repeatedly did not mean I could reproduce it. Meaning, I wish I could retain anatomy. This is a failure student talking, and you don't need to say this. That's why this channel gives you some of these bullets. Next one, I wish I had tested myself after every study session. That's why the method study shop is there. I wish I had learned the chamber systematically instead of mixing up their features. Can you imagine that? I wish I had understood the difference between the right and left side of the heart. I wish I had memorized major openings of the atria. Okay, that's the AV node, okay, that's the atrioventricular orifice, ventricular tract, okay, right atrioventricular tract, left atrioventricular tract, okay, the inflow tract, the atrial flat of the right atrioventricle, okay, so left atrioventricular inflow tract, left atrioventricular outflow tract, left and right atrioventricular tract, and right atrioventricular outflow tract. I wish I knew another name for it. Next one, I wish I had memorized. I wish I had paid attention to the internal features of the chambers. I wish I had learned the valves with their cups, location and attachment. I wish I had understood the code, tendinaire and the papillary muscle instead of merely memorizing their names. That is, I wish I had known the nerve supply, the cause, the blood supply, the origin, which way does it originate from, where does it end. I wish I knew that. I wish I had studied coronary circulation earlier and estimated how much could be asked from it, that is especially in objectives. Okay, I wish I had learned the branches of the coronary artery using diagram. I wish I had studied the venous drainage of the heart alongside the arterial supply. For those infecting cause, you wish you had studied the lymphatic drainage of the mammary gland, because usually they ask you right on the mammary gland, okay, which includes up to the venous drainage, and they will ask you add short notes on the lymphatic drainage. Can you imagine that? Now, I wish I studied the venous drainage, so I wish I practiced structures on atrial specimen and model. I wish so. At times almost so. This and that you can see that. Now let's quickly look at an average student. What does he wish? Okay, an average student. What does an average student wish he had knew about? Okay. And he said, from an average student who passed the course called anatomy, where case study is Nigerian University, and this is tantamount. This is almost like any other university. Now let's look at this. He said, I wish I knew that I didn't need to memorize everything at once. That's it. So watch the way we study. Just pick little, and then the second study on it. Yeah, he said, I needed a clear hierarchy of what was important. Can you imagine that? There are areas of interest. I wish I knew the heart becomes much easier when divided into two chambers: valves, great vessels, coronary circulation, conducting system, pericardium. In fact, you knew you study the heart in anatomy somehow, you'd go again to the physiology, study the heart, and then possibly go to the biochemistry of the heart. Now you wish to know this. You wish you knew this about anatomy. So I'm going to write this out. I'm going to send this out to you. Study smart. Master anatomy, succeed. Are you getting me now? Start early. Be confident. Practice actively and regularly, and then excel in exams. Very important. Now quickly let's look at maybe 5 more. He said, I wish I knew how to master. Now, I wish I knew to make tables comparing the artery and ventricles. This is what we do here. We talk about anatomy table for bones, for joints, for muscle, for nerves, for plexuses, do you understand? For spaces and names of them. I wish I knew the mnemonics. I wish I was reading with acronym. Those are hangers in which you arrange your thoughts, so that as you are wherever you are, you can recall, you can tell someone, just like you can tell someone, please go to my room, or go to my hostel, or go to my this, you see this part, in this part, lift up this, you see this. The same way, when we pick anatomy acronyms and mnemonics, or the table of value, and we internalizing and we are interacting, guess what happened? You discover that the thoughts we may forget. By the time you lift it, the acronym up, and you begin to say one, it will link to the other one. You see the other one. That's how you arrange thoughts, because the brain was not wired to do what? To keep information it does not need. So what you don't use, you lose. So you must arrange it to look like a useful something. A lot more you wish you would know. A lot more. Like this is just 20 in this episode. and we are not even reading much. Now let me get straight to the point. Here we said, I wish I knew to draw the coronary circulation repeatedly until I could do it without looking. Can you imagine that? That's what we do here. We begin to study from screenshot like we are doing here. Begin to study from screenshot, begin to build, begin to work until it is understood. Guess what? This is very serious. This is very important. This is very interesting. You will wish you knew this. You will wish you understood this. You will wish you did this. You wish you practice. You wish you share the knowledge. You wish you share the thoughts. You wish you rewrite it out. You wish you have a time to write it out. You wish you would say this thing while you are gisting, you are playing, you are arguing, while you are watching. You wish you would reminisce on this. I wish I knew the apex and the base of the heart has specific anatomical relationship worth mentioning. Can you imagine that? Say, I wish I knew. I wish I knew that the surfaces and borders of the heart are commonly tested in identification question. Can you imagine that? That's steeplechase. Okay, I wish I knew to study the heart in both anatomical and clinical context. That's what we plan to do. That's what we are performing and currently doing. We don't just study, we look at the importance clinically. Clinical importance or significance are applied anatomy. I wish I knew that. I wish I knew that. So a whole lot of which. Then the last one here is, I wish I knew that passing anatomy is not about being naturally brilliant or gifted or talented, but it's about consistent recall. It's about consistent diagram drawing and sketching. You don't need to be an artist to pass it. Just a sketch, because you have a lot to sketch. And then we talk about it's about practical exposure. Okay, exposure to a video like this. Okay, to platform like this. Okay, it's about spending time. Watch how we do it, and don't lock up the same way you could scroll through the phone for an hour or two. The same way you scroll through a movie all night is the way you could do this study. Book a study with us. Let's study all night. Let's study all day. Let's study all holiday. Let's study all busy day. Let's study when you don't feel like. Let's study when you feel like. Let's study when you are not happy. Let's study when you are happy. It's a whole about being exposed to things like this. It's about past question practice. It's about making an average student in exam ready. Now let's look at distinctions today. I'm going to read the whole of this. It said 20 things I wish I knew. Distinction student. You know, you don't dwell much on a failure student, and then you wouldn't want to. He said, where doubts arise and fear may dwell. But I dare not dwell where doubts arise and fear dismay. But my constant aim is higher ground, and that's the higher ground of a distinction student. The last thing a distinction student wish he knew was that, most importantly, he wished he knew early that Nigerian anatomy exams reward structured answers. Definition, location, features, relation, blood supply, nerve supply, clinical anatomy can turn knowledge into marks. Can you imagine that? This is about studying an outline with anatomy with outline. That's why when we want to study, we can imagine we can spend a whole 1 hour. We can spend a whole 2 hours trying to pull out outline. What is this thing really about? It's not about the gross detail. It's about what is really the problem. If we can know the problem, we can refer. A doctor diagnoses or he refers. The doctor diagnoses and he refers. You should be able to know a little about everything, and you should be able to refer to a specialist for the one that is not your field. And that's where you study. You study here. Not only that for a nurse, not only that for a pharmacist, not only that for optometrists, not only that for public health practitioners, not only that for those in MLS, and not only that for those in anatomy and those in physiology and those in name them. All those clinical, metabolic, medical, bioethic doctors or student doctors, dentist student, name them. So the first thing clinical distinction student wish he knew the heart is easier when you understand is 3D orientation rather than memorizing isolated diagram. Are you seeing it now? Meaning this session now, we are just looking at isolated diagram. After that, we need to look for synthetic heart. Okay, need to look for synthetic, and the month of September is going to be a month of 3D diagram. We'll be looking at 3D diagram. We'll be looking at 4D, 5D, whatever is the D diagram. So that is going to make you to get what you're looking for, and that's very important. Next one, I wish I knew the right atrium received blood from 3 major sources. That is the SVC, the IVC, and the coronary sinus. Can you imagine that? I wish I knew the right ventricle is not simply the chambers of the heart. I wish I knew the difference between the smooth and rough part of the atria. I wish I knew the left ventricle has the thickest myocardium. I wish I knew the trabeculae, kenia, papillae, muscle, and the caudate tendinae are different structures. I wish I knew, this is even different from tuberosity. Caudate tendinae, trabeculae, they are sound alike, but if you don't repeatedly look at this, if you don't repeatedly lounge it out and say it out, guess what? One truth remains, this is not going to be funny. I wish I knew the fibroskeleton of the heart is important. I wish I knew the coronary arteries are an exam's gold mine. I wish I knew the right and left coronary arteries should be studied as a branching tree. I wish I knew the coronary luminous is based on the artery. I wish I knew the cardiac veins and coronary. Wow. So this is just about the heart alone. So that's why I pick the first and the last. I wish I knew about this, about the heart. Now, how about the heart? The heart is what we'll be looking at shortly. The heart, the diaphragm, and the thoracic cage. When we start from thoracic cage, I believe you've learned something in this past 20 minutes. We're looking at things I wish I knew. Good news from this heart, good news from this thorax, and study shots that we are talking about. We've given you the three, and we are starting. Okay, so are we together now? So now we want to get into something else now. Okay, let's get into practicing this thing. Okay, the consistency, the outline. Let's get to start it now. Is that okay now? All right. And done. If you have not gotten anything from this thing, this is one thing I'm going to tell you, and that is this: that distinction students wish they knew more. They wish they added more to what they studied. Average students, okay, let's talk about failures. Let's start from failures. Okay? Because failure is first attempt in learning, and you don't need to be the first to attempt that learning. Okay, the failure student wish they had studied earlier. The average student wish they had studied smarter. But guess what the distinction student wish? They wish they had studied more. So the real secret, don't just study the anatomy of the thorax and the heart and the lungs and the diaphragm and the rib cage. Learn how to retrieve, draw, identify, and explain it. In the evening, I'll be hitting you with some basic practical action-based words that you need to retrieve what you need to retrieve. I started it and I'm going to continue in the evening. Do you understand? Thumbs up if you follow. All right, so let's now dive into thorax. Okay, want to look at the concluding part of the thorax, which is the thoracic cage. Okay, we have done the thoracic wall, we've done the thoracic cavity. Now we want to look at the thoracic cage. Just a second, and we'll be right there. All right, I think we look at thoracic cage later on. Let's look at diaphragm for now. I want this session to be about an hour or an hour 30 minutes. About an hour or an hour 30 minutes. So let's look at anatomy of the diaphragm. Remember, when we talk about the thorax, we said the thorax, okay, can be discussed on the 17 outline. Needed to bring out my biro, okay, bring out my biro. Okay, because we said the Fenton's biro, okay, or pencil is sharper than the brightest brain. Okay, so I want to start something now. We said anatomy of the thorax. First, we said jack, C-fin. Jack, C-fin. What's the jack? JEC-C-FIN. Jack, look at it now. JECCFIN. That's the first outline. Next one, we said tall rabbit. Okay. We said very tall rabbit travel very bright streets to avoid cars. Very tall rabbit, okay, travel very bright streets to avoid cars. Those were the things we pull out in thorax. Okay, now these are the 17 outlines in thorax study. All right, now M there stands for meaning or importance, which we say IRAN. IRAN. That is, thorax is the region between abdomen and the neck. That's the thorax. And then the I is for thoracic inlet, where we say V squared MAN. That is V-man. You know, some people are T-man, some people are V-man. What's V-man? Maybe Victor man, or my guy Victor, things like that. Okay, or victorious man, or victorious person. You get? Now, what does that mean? V squared man. The first V is for the viscera, and that viscera has rotator. What does that rotator means? ROT is for remains of the thymus. A is for apices of the lungs and pleura. T is for trachea, and O is for esophagus. That's rotator. That forms the viscera. For the vein, that's the next V. Remember V squared. It is the BSC. Every vein has BSC. It's all these students that have BSC. That's how you relate it. That's how you connect it. And then we said, yes, the B is for brachiovascular vein. Okay, brachiovascular vein. Okay. Brachiovascular vein. S is the left subclavian vein, and the C is the left common carotid vein. Then we talk about, and we said that is the same thing as the artery. Now we said the muscle, we said SS3. Almost everyone in Nigeria must have done it, or SS3, before it goes to an upper class. Okay, so SS3, the muscles here, the stenohyoid, the first S, the stenothyroid, the next X, and the longus colli. So we say SS3 instead of SS3. Have you ever heard someone who did not cut the tongue or is learning the language in his old age and needed practice it earlier and longer and severally for years and for longer, several period of time? He wants to pronounce letter L as letter R and letter R as letter L. That's why we say SS3 instead of SSL. Okay, so next one, artery. We have BSc. So arteries and veins have BSc in Nigeria in school. So artery BSc, B for brachiocephalic artery, left subclavian artery, and the left common carotid artery. Then the N then stands for nerve. Stands for nerve. And then we have PVSL, that is the phrenic nerve, the vagus nerve, and the sympathetic trunk nerve, and then the left recurrent intercostal laryngeal nerve is a continuation, a continuing branch of the vagus nerve, which is the longest cranial nerve. And we did promise us each time we talk about the cranial nerve, we're going to make a short video sent to you how to recall all the 12 cranial nerves. Okay, now we move on to the function. Only one function the thoracic cage has, that is to protect the abdominal viscera. We talk about the characteristics of thoracic cage. Now see, now I am studying faster. Before I used to study plaster, used to break it down, study bit by bit. Just the way they plaster wall, they carry a little thing and throw on it, and they allow it to dry. Then they come and analyze it, dress it, paint it, push it, they make it settle a little, and they paste another one. little by little. That's how we study here. When we study something, when we study one thing, we add another one, we repeat the two, we add the third one, we repeat the three, we add the third one, we repeat the four, till like that we reach the ninth and the 10th. And when we are done, we take a test, we ask ourselves a question. Sometimes we take an hour to two, we pause it there, and we get a space to get something else done. Rest if you are tired, rise up much more, and then get people to wake you up. If not, you think there's none like unto you who is studying in all the earth. That's not true. Remember, distinction students wish they study more. Average, those who pass on the average, wish they study smarter, and failure wish they have started earlier. So we said, when you start, you become a star. We said, if the sky were to be, if we were all to be stars, then there will still be spaces in the sky. Do you know how big a star is? All right, no competition, no envy, no jealousy, because they know their goals, smart goals, specific, measurable, achievable, and time-bound. Characteristics of thorax, SMSTTD. SMSTTD. You have the skin, okay? Remember, you should know that your body is the best. So each time you can tap yourself, know that you can do anatomy. You cannot, anywhere you cannot tap, know that you don't know. If you cannot tap it, then don't try it. If you cannot tap it, you don't try it. Whatever you can tap, the skin, followed by the superficial fascia, followed by the deep fascia, we call those fascia connective tissue. The skin, we call epithelial tissue, and the muscle, like this, like the muscle, like we talk about the stenohyoid muscle, like we talk about the stenothyroid muscle, like we talk about the longus colli muscle, and like we talk about the muscles of the extrinsic muscles of the thorax. Okay, he said, what did we say? We said smart students study properly. Okay, so exams, so every exam require what? Every exam requires what? Requires serious. Every exam requires serious study daily. Okay, those are the 11 muscles of the thorax. The other three were the one that passes through the thoracic inlet, which we call the superior aperture of the thorax. Now, what does this necromy mean? We plaster it S for what? S for what? The serratus superior. The next S for what? Serratus anterior. The next S for what? Serratus posterior. The P for what? Pectoralis major. The S for what? Scalene muscle. The E for what? External incocostal. The next E for what? External oblique. The R for what? Rectus abdominis. S for what? The subclavius. That is, this is the clavicle. Anything that is around clavicle is called clavius. So if it is under the clavius, we say subclavius. And since it's a muscle, you say subclavius muscle. Do you see how we name it? If you cannot look at your body as the best textbook, forget it. That's the point you are making in this video. If you cannot see your body as the best textbook, be it a 3D, be it a net last answer, be it a synthetic bone, be it something you get, if you cannot see yourself, you cannot touch your head and neck. If you are studying head and neck, you cannot touch your thorax and the skin as epithelium. You cannot see where it formed, that this form first, before the, you know, if you cannot see all this concept, then it means that you have not studied anatomy. Then the next one is sternocleidomastoid. Sternocleidomastoid. And the last one is the diaphragm. Now, I remember when we studied this thing with you in the morning, I forgot diaphragm. I was trying to think, no, it can't be deltoid, because deltoid is not in the thorax. Deltoid is there in the pectoral region. And guess what? When I check it, that was it. Okay, so that's it about the characteristic muscles of the thorax. Now we talk about the composition of thorax. STP, the sternum. Here, the thorax posteriorly still at the back, okay, T1 to T12, and then we talk about the pairs of ribs. There are about 12 pairs of ribs. You see now, here is diaphragm again, and you are seeing rib again. Are you seeing now? Here is diaphragm, and you are seeing ribs again. Very important. So these things are connected. And you should appreciate that. You should understand that. You should learn how to study this concept. Okay. So even the thoracic that we talk about, the thoracic wonders, the thoracic vertebra, You see, you can see there, it's still here again. So you cannot run away from this thing. It's a good news, something you wish you knew. Then we talk about the extent of the thorax, SIP, to sip gari, to sip cornflake, to sip smoothie, to sip even if it's golden morn. SIP, S for what? Superior mediastinum. I for what? Inferior mediastinum. And M for what? So P for what? P for what? Posterior mediastinum. Okay, we say SIP, you sip, you sip. So as you are eating, you are remembering anatomy. As you are sleeping, you are remembering anatomy. As you are resting, you are remembering anatomy. What does it mean? RES. What is RES? R for radiographic appearances, and then E for the extent of the abdominopelvic region, and S for the what? We continue. Okay, so that's it for the extent. And then for the joint, we said we have on the average about okay, let's use this mnemonics for it. Sit 6 SMS. Sit 6 SMS. He's sitting on 6 SMS. That's the meaning. So the sit is CIT, and the 6 is CIX, and the SMS is SMS. Are you seeing it now? What does CIT stands for? Costochondral joint, interchondral joint, and costotransverse joint. Are you seeing it now? Next, CIX is costovertebral joint, intervertebral joint, and xiphostenal joint. Now the SMS now, sternoclavicular joint, mandibulostenal joint, and the synchondrosis. Synchondrosis, yes, you say it very strong. That's another one you pick. Now the next one we want to look at, we said you now look at the next 10 outline for studying the thorax. See, you need to watch the video in the morning session. I've made it public. Okay, it will soon come out from the vault. Once it comes out, I'm going to broadcast it. You go to the channel and watch it before this time. Time tomorrow. In fact, that morning the thing should be ready. It's ready. So it's not always up 24 hours. It's ready. You watch it. Watch how I'm telling you this thing. I'm telling you from my mouth without looking at book and without stabbing. I'm studying it fast. I remember one of the ways to study anatomy is you study it faster. First, you study it plaster. Next, you study it stammer. Next, you study this one. You study it faster. You study it with speed. Study it with blast. Study it with vigor. Study it with. Do you understand me now? Thumbs up if you are with me in the comment section. Come on, thumbs up if you are following. Thumbs up if you are following. That's what we are talking about. You are watching this. You should see. I'm talking as if I'm talking to you live, and I said truly I'm talking to you live. Yes, there are many videos we watch online that people we are listening to have already died, and we didn't know they have died. Yes, can remember when I started enjoying the videos of Miles Moron. I did not even know Miles Moron had died, I think in 2014 or so. I didn't even know. So most of the things you're going to be receiving, see it as a faith, see it as real, see it as life, see it as a premier, see it as maiden. You are the first to hear this. In fact, see as if I'm talking to you, for truly I am talking to you. Okay, with all due respect, with all due politeness, with all due courtesy and protocol, and with all due belief in you. I believe that if you watch this, you understand anatomy of the thorax. And this is a good news that the heart has for you, that I have from you, and the things I wish I knew, I wish I knew from the mouth of failure student, from the mouth of average student who passed on the average, and the mouth of student who had distinction. Okay, I think 2 days ago I was discussing with a student in Afe Babalola, a medicine student who scored 4 distinction. Is it 4 or 5 distinction in all these medical courses? Okay, so it's possible. The people you spend time with determine who you are going to be. If you spend time with people who are arguing newspaper that will not add anything to them, it's just a matter of time. You be like them, shipwreck, money wreck, time wreck, wasting energy. When you discuss and have mental intercourse with those who are oriented, goal oriented, goal getter. Action you get, you're going to make it. So quickly, let's move on to the next one. The next 10 topics about anatomy of thorax is very simple. We said very tall rabbits travel very bright streets to avoid cast. That's all. The very stands for the vertebral level. The toe stands for the toe. I'm not reading from book. I'm not reading from book. I wrote it down. Okay, maybe I should open fresh page so you believe me. Believe me when I say go look at the video and whatever we did in that video in a very slow way, not as fast as this. This one we are fasting. When I mean fasting, mean, are you getting me? That's my own English according to me. That's what those it out. If you don't get it, please, with all due respect, forget about it. What's important. And now we talk about the anatomy again. We said very tall. I'm looking fresh page. It's fresh page. Nothing is written on it. Fresh page. Okay. So I pick fresh page. I said very tall rabbit. Okay, very tall rabbit travel very bright streets to avoid cars. That's the next 10 outline. Aside from the first 7 outline, which was Jack, see, theme. You're talking about anatomy. So you want to describe anatomy of the thorax, you should have this important point. You should have this important concept. Do you follow? Thumbs up if you are with me. The next one we talk about quickly is that very stands of vertebral levels. T1 to T4, that's superior mediastinum. T5 to T12, that's inferior mediastinum. And T4 to T12 is inferior mediastinum. T5 to T12 is posterior mediastinum. And then those are vertebral levels. In T1 to T4, we have mass. That's the structure, manibrum, arc of aorta, and sternal angle of Lewis. And then talking about the next one, which is the T5 to T12, we talk about the Mr. Hairs. That is M for the word manibrosternal joint. X for the word is for xiphisternal joint. D for the word the diaphragm. TM for the word Mr. Do you follow? Okay, Mr. H for the word the heart. E for the word epigastric fossa, and that's all. Then we talk about the thoracic outlet, and as we talk about the thoracic outlet, we said CRLTMD. That's the acronym we use. Watch how we study. We store it in a way that we can use it. Remember, when you harvest information from the book, if you don't process it and arrange it well, it gets spoiled and it gets useless to your brain when you need them. But here we show you how to get it done. Now we are on another now by one Dr. Manjula. He must have been a prof now. Yes, he's even assistant prof. Smacks Ranka Banka Banka. This name is Indian language, so please forgive if I don't call it well. Let's move on. And then we talk about the thoracic wall. As we talk about the thoracic wall, before that we talk about the rabbit, which is for relation. And then we talk about that, we said Paul, PAUL, the posterior relation, the anterior relation, the upper relation, and the lateral. We say the lateral relation is related to the ribs. The upper relation continues with the neck. The anterior relation is where you have the manibrum, and the posterior relation is the superior surface of the first thoracic vertebra. And then we talk about the thoracic wall. It's made up of extrinsic muscle and intercostal muscle. The extrinsic muscle has 12 muscles, and we have told you using any money. They say smart students study properly, so every exams requires serious study daily, and we say what it means. So let me write the mnemonics out so I can tell you what it means, because that's the hanger in which those thoughts are hung. I don't need to worry about what they stands for, just like the 17 muscles of the scapula, just like the 11 muscles of the thorax. I don't need to worry what about. I just need to worry what am I used to. I'm used to smart students study properly. I like smart students. I'm used to them. I'm used to relating and talking about it. I'm used to behaving like it. I'm used to finding assets that reinforce and taunt. And so I write it when I remember it. Smart students study properly. What does smart stands for? Serratus superior. Next one, student stands for serratus anterior. Next one, serratus posterior. And when you look at it, it is SAP. ASAP. ASAP. You know who has not heard of ASAP? Some people say ASAP is as soon as possible, but my own is SAP. That is SAP. That's my own. I decide to do my own. You do your own. You are entitled to your own opinion. I am entitled to my own opinion. That's what you tell yourself when people want to learn from you, when people want to mock at you while you're learning, when people want to feel, your own is too much. Are you the this and that? Are you the Whatever is the case, you just tell them, This is how you present it to them. So that's the mnemonics. Posterior is pectoralis major, the muscle of the chest, the flat muscles of the chest that flatten and plaster and covers the chest. They're moving away from them. We say smart students study properly, and then so every exams requires serious study daily. What does that mean? So stands for scalene, SCALENE. Every external oblique muscle. Next one, external intercostal muscle. External intercostal muscle. Of course, if there is external intercostal muscle, there is internal intercostal muscle. Okay, there is intercostal. We are going to come to that. Then we talk about rectus abdominis. We talk about you need to take that. I'm rushing it, so I leave you to do it after. Next one is the subclavius, the muscle under the clavicle, and the last one is the diaphragm. Now it is this diaphragm that we want to study today. We talk about the venous return from the ascending lumbar artery, okay, into the subcostal vein. Ascending lumbar vein, it drains into the subcostal vein. Internal cava vein drains into the subcostal vein again, and that subcostal vein drains into the hemiazygous vein. The hemiazygous vein drains into the accessory hemiazygous vein, and the accessory hemiazygous vein drains into the azygous vein. Azygous vein drains to the superior vena cava. And we said that three drains into the right atrium, superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and the coronary sinus. And then we talk about the spaces. This is where you have the van of the thorax. Okay, the thorax has a vehicle, van, that makes things travel. The vein, the artery, and the nerve. The vein, the artery, and the nerve. When we're talking about what were we talking about? There's something to talk about, and that was the inlet. Yes, talk about the inlet. We mentioned the things, the veins and the arteries, so there's no point mentioning it again. You see, when you learn very well, you end very well, because what you're learning will ease you time. See, when you start, your input, your energy, your resource is very much. But when you have become a star, when you continue, you're consistent, you don't need to put much energy, because you are so used to it that you can sleep a night, a week. In fact, you can be enjoying yourself a week, a month to the exams, because you have been building your dream, you have been building the thing, you have been working, you have been studying, you have been storing it, you have been retrieving it, you have been practicing it, you have been consistent, you have been resilient. You are tired, but you are still pushing. You are not, it's not fine, but you are not feeling fine, but you are pushing it, because you know it's not about your feeling, it's about your fact. Remember, the brain is not wired to look for something that is correct. It's wired to look for the wrong thing. It's wired to think nonsense. It's wired to look for what it will kill it. Okay, the brain will not want you to eat good organic food. It wants you to go and eat synthetic food, fast food that will make somebody fast die. Okay, so we move on to the thoracic cavity, where we said the lungs, the heart, okay, and the other collateral. That reminds me, collateral vessel, collateral vessels is also in the van, the spaces of the heart. And see, as we talk about space, remember we have space in the upper limb and lower limb, we have space in head and neck, a whole lot of spaces, so you cannot run away from spaces. So watch out for the video we are going to make on joints, on bones, on nerves, on muscles, and spaces, so that you see the hack, the simple way, and kind of an easier way to capture this picture called upper and lower limb, for example, spaces. Okay, so we talk about actions of the thorax. This is the one we say we are going to learn it when we are learning the clinicals, okay, and the rib cage. So let's leave the action there and let's leave the clinicals there. We do that maybe tomorrow when we go for anatomy shopping. You've not heard of study shopping before. You've heard of good shopping. People go for clothes shopping, go for shoe shopping. This one is anatomy shopping. You're going to watch out for the clip. It's going to be amazing. Now let's continue. We are still into 48 into this. And guess what we have been doing? We are just talking. We are just talking just from brain. Can you imagine that? Meaning you can spend anatomy. And you need to raise a community of a study partner like that. And that's why this channel comes up, so that it can be encouraged. You know, when you look as if you are the only person studying, others are hiding to study, others are not even studying what they are studying, but they are just to kind of spike you, so that you don't think you are the only person that is studying in all the earth. Are you getting me now? But they know they are not studying anything. Only them and God and you know that what they are studying. If you ask them, what are you carrying this people? They cannot mention one external uplift for you. So you quickly move into another thing. So that's the outline for studying anatomy and anatomy of the thorax. Today we want to look at diaphragm. The first thing we are looking at diaphragm, I promise this is going to be 1 hour 30 minutes. The first thing we are going to look at diaphragm is what the introduction. So what is diaphragm? Diaphragm, watch this now, is the chief muscle of respiration. C. Next one is separate the thoracic and the abdominal cavity. S. And then it gives passage to the number of structures passing in both the direction. So CPS. You know, you've heard of GPH. Here's one we are saying CPS. You've heard of GPS now. C stands for what? Chief muscle of respiration. Hey, you are studying with me, so pay attention. I'll ask you a question. Okay, so what did I say about introduction to diaphragm? See now, he won't pay attention. He was busy enjoying himself, eating and disturbing the session, live session. He knows little that there are so many people that are going to enjoy, going to benefit from this session. Okay, all right, so let's continue. Okay, we said the diaphragm, 3 things you need to know about the diaphragm. Number 1, it is the chief muscle of respiration. Number 2, it separates the thorax from the abdomen. Number 3, it does what? It serves as a passageway, okay? A passageway of structures into and out of the thorax. Do you follow? We move to the next one. Definition of thorax. Definition of thorax. Thorax is a musculofibrous partition between the thorax and the abdomen. Question?
Yes, sir. So I thought you said we're talking about the diaphragm.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. Yes, I think I need to take water and take a few seconds break. So we continue. Anatomy of the diaphragm. Do you follow? Anatomy of the diaphragm. So the next 1 hour, we are going to put you through on diaphragm. Now first introduction, we said GPS. Everybody is used to GPS. But who is used to CPS? All right, so we are looking at diaphragm like we said. We said the first thing you look at in diaphragm, just like any other anatomy, okay, concept or structure, because anatomy is all about structures. Okay, it's all about structures. Of course, regional anatomy is where are those structures, what is beside it, what is on it, what is, and all that, and all that. Okay, and then we said that anatomy, okay, anatomy of the diaphragm is CPS. You know GPS. This one is CPS. Okay? From GPS you have CPS. What is CPS? Chief respiratory muscle, passageway for structures in both directions, and partition that separates the thorax from the abdomen. That's the diaphragm. Now, definition. A diaphragm can be defined as a musculofibrous partition between the thorax and the abdomen. Is that not the same thing as in the introduction? So you are just picking one thing out of the introduction. Do you follow? Thumbs up if you are with me. Okay? Drop in the comment section. You can be. Don't forget, if you are gaining something from this channel, which you know you are, you and I know, we know that it's going to be a blessing to you, to people, and all that. Okay? You subscribe, share, okay, so that we can touch more lives, be a blessing to many, as many are challenging us to study more and read more. Okay, all right. So that's the introduction, GPS, and for the definition, musculofibrous partition, MP. That's it. MP-TAR. MP-TAR. Okay, like MP3. This one is MP-TAR. You follow? MP3. That is musculofibrous partition between the thorax and the. So we are done with that. The next one is the shape. The shape of the diaphragm is dome shape. So we talk about the introduction. We talk about, let me open to fresh page because it's a fresh topic. Talk about the introduction. We talk about the definition. We talk about the shape. Okay, shape we say is a dome shape. Can you see it now? Not only that. Okay, we said the thoracic surface is convex on the right and left, but its thoracic surface, as the surface that relates or line to the thorax, is what? Convex on the right and left. Convex. Okay? But in the middle it is depressed. So we said for the shape we have serous dim. Dim, that is depressed in middle. Concave in right and left, and then convex convex on right, left, and then concave in inferior abdominal surface. Cias dimcore. Yeah, CIASDIMCORL. Some dimcore. Cias dimcore. Cias core dim. See how dark the core is dim. Do you see? So let's put it this way. Cias core dim. That makes sense. Don't forget where we are coming from. Introduction is CPS, from GPS, chief respiratory muscle, and then passageway for structures in and out of the thorax inferiorly, and then we say partition between thorax and what? Abdomen. In the definition, we say it's a musculofibrous partition between the thorax and the abdomen. MP3. Okay, MP3. Okay, and then the shape we said is dome shape. All right, dome shape. Also, it is Cias dimcore. C as the dim core. Cias this core. Cias is spelled CIAS. That is concave. No, convex. Okay, concave in its inferior abdominal surface. Concave in its deep. And the other one convex from concave on left to right of diaphragm. It has origin 1, 2, 3. So you can say CVS. The origin is what? CVS. And who will not know of CVS if you are doing preclinical courses, whether you're in medicine or nursing or pharmacy or them? We said you are actually involved in what? Watch this now. You're actually involved in studying a course called cardiovascular physiology. In physiology, you study GIT physiology, respiratory physiology, cardiovascular physiology. All right? So those are called systemic physiology. Now, moving away from there, are you following me at all? Thumbs up if you are following. Drop in the comment section if you are following. And if you are not following, please ask question. All right? Now we move on. We said we now talk about origin, CVS. What does that mean? The C is for the vertebra. Sorry, the C is for the costal surface, the costal origin. The V is for the vertebra, and the S is for the sternum. And you know these are not strange things. You've heard it when so if you really remember thorax, like sternoclavicular joint, okay, side sternal joint, mandibulosternal joint, sternum. Synchondrosis is still a joint where you have the sternum, you have the costal cartilage, and you have the clavicle. Okay, so those are the three origins. The next one we look at, we are not wasting time with what are the origin, costal, sternal, and vertebra. So those are the origin of the vertebra. Okay, remember of the diaphragm. Remember the diaphragm is what? It's a musculofibrous structure. So every muscle has origin and has insertion. Can we move on? Do you follow? Thumbs up if you are following. Okay. So we now look at the insertion. See what I was telling you? Every origin has every muscle have origin and insertion, and diaphragm is not exempted. Child, diaphragm, okay, has origin, 3 origins. Now let's look at their insertion. Okay. Now that reminds me, as we look at the origin, we said the sternal origin. Let's read a little thing, but you have already picked the summary. Okay, sternal by 2 fleshy slips from the posterior aspect of the xiphoid process. Meaning the xiphoid process, Xiphoid process, where you have the sternal angle. Okay, xiphoid process, that tip something there. Let me show you xiphoid process. Yes, good. Listening process. See, that's the xiphoid. Oh my lord. Okay, so let's move on. That's xiphoid process. So that's the first origin of the diaphragm, xiphoid process. That's where it first, because if it's not attached, it will slack. Okay, now the next one is the costal surface. On the costal surface, we said from the inner surface of the lower 6 ribs with respective cartilage interdigitating with transversus abdominis. Do you follow that point? That is mingling, is connecting, it kind of is flowing, connecting alongside with transversus abdominis muscle. Remember, we have rectus abdominis muscle. This is another muscle, but this one is in the abdominal area, abdomen. No, we have thorax, abdomen, pelvis, perineum. Okay, now moving away from here, we have that on the costal surface, from the inner surface of the costal rib, inner surface of the lower 6 ribs with respective cartilages. Do you understand what that means? Now, from the 7 rib, 8 rib, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's the meaning. So you have these origins, originate. So some of it comes from those ribs, those costal surface of those ribs, just like the transversus abdominis. And this is what it. Okay, so write it down. Transversus abdominis. Because when we are looking at abdominal muscles of the abdomen, just when you look at abdominal vessels, we are going to understand the muscles. Listen, you need to know all the muscles of the abdomen. Just like we have known all the 12 muscles of the extrinsic part of the thorax. And we know the other muscle of the intercostal. Intercostal is divided into external intercostal, internal intercostal, transversus thoracic intercostal, and then that one is divided into 3. We say cis, sister. S for what? Stenocostalis. Next one, subcostalis and intercostalis. I is for intercostalis. You know, sometimes you need to say it with anger. Some of the things that we recall faster and longer are angry moments. So when you are angry, that's how some people think you're serious. But you can be serious without being angry. Okay, that's by the way. So let's move on. We talk about the vertebral origin. What does that mean? From a vertebral origin has 3 words, 3 grooves. There are 3 grooves. Okay. No, there are two grooves. The right and left grooves. The left grooves has two distinct. So we are going to pick it small. Let's put it this way. We are now talking about the vertebra. Vertebra has right and left. La, ra, whichever one. Left and right close, right and left close. Do you follow? Okay. Don't forget where we are coming from. We are coming from the diaphragm. We said the diaphragm is what? A chief muscle of respiration. And we said the definition of diaphragm is what? The musculofibrous partition, okay, between the thorax and the abdomen. And we said the shape of diaphragm is dome shape, but also it has convex, okay, by the left and right, and it is concave by the what? By the inferior abdominal surface. inferior abdominal, that's inferior abdominal surface. That's concave. And we talk about the origin. We said CVS, coastal origin, that's from this lower 6 ribs, okay, internal surface of the lower 6 rib, internal, you can see it, internal surface of the lower 6 rib, that's the internal surface of the lower 6 rib. Some origin are from there. From the sternum, the xiphic process, okay, the pointed process, okay. And then we talk about what else? Talk about from the vertebra, there are 2 grooves, the right and left grooves, ra, or the left and right groove, la, 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 the retima falsatilo, la, things like that. So you are used to la in music, la, 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 okay, ooh la la, things like that. You bring it, and someone say ooh la la, you remember right, left and right grooves. Now the left grooves is divided into 2, and the right grooves takes its origin from the front of bodies and intervertebral discs of L1 to L3. So L1 to L3 gives off origin of the diaphragm. Okay. So we talk about diaphragm. We started from saying diaphragm is a chief respiratory muscles. Okay, and then we said it is also a passageway for structures in both directions. And we said it separates what from what? The abdomen from the thorax. And now we also talk about the shape. It is a dome shape, DOM. And then we said from left to right or right to left, ra or la la la, la la tido. That la is left and right side. So we said the diaphragm left to right is convex, and concave, if you are looking at inferior abdominal surface, we call it Cias-Din core. Cias-Cum-Din. What does that mean? The core of the diaphragm is very dim.
D.
CIAS stands for CIAS stands for what? CIAS stands for what? Concave in the inferior in its inferior abdominal surface. C for concave, I for in its, A for abdominal, S for surface. CIAS. Now core means convex on right left side. Core. Then D means depressed in the middle. Are you seeing now? So that's how we study it. Failure students wish they had started earlier. Average students wish they have studied smarter. Distinction students wish they have studied more.
Well, no, you said it. You said it.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention. Very important. When we finish talking about the shape of the diaphragm, we talk about the what? The opening, the origin rather, of the diaphragm. Diaphragm has three origin because it's a muscle. Every muscle has where it attach its origin from and where it insert. Where it begins from is called origin. Where it insert is called insertion. So the origin of diaphragm is three. We have CVS as the acronym. Why do we use CVS? Because when you enter school, they will teach you CVS as a course in physiology, called it cardiovascular physiology. CVS. So we use what we are used to because they were teaching you every now and then what you are used to use it to be used to what you need to be used to, which will be useful to you. As acronym. Say, you follow? So we said CVS. C for what? Coastal surface or coastal origin. V for what? Vertebral origin. And S for what? Sternal origin. Oh, many young people. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. So now, the coastal origin, the origin there is on the internal lower surface of the 6 ribs. Those are the origin. That's what they call coastal surface. That's the first origin. Okay? It does that business with what? With the transversus abdominis muscle. There's another muscle that pick its origin from the coastal surface. Are you getting it now? Now we move on. When I'm done, you tell me what I'm teaching you. And that's how we study. Yes. So we're going to be my guest in the evening. Okay. So we now talk about what? We now talk about the sternal origin. The sternal origin is this place where you have the cervisternal joint. Okay, that's cervisternal joint, that place. And we say your body is the best textbook in anatomy. So you want to master your body, each time you read any textbook, where is it in my body? Because you carry your body up and down everywhere, every time, to anywhere, for anything. But you don't carry book every time, everywhere, for anything. So you want to carry anatomy, see your body as anatomy. Side. Alright, we move on. We now talk about what else? The vertebral, that's where we weigh. Vertebral origin. The vertebral origin is divided into two grooves. The left and right grooves. La. Remember the other la. In convex left and right side. La. Now concave inferior abdominal surface. Okay. Now this will be cave from your eye, except you are used to this thing. You practice it over and over. And then for the left and right grooves, we say the right grooves, pay attention, is attached to the L1 to L3. It picks its origin from the front bodies, not the posterior, from the anterior surface of the L1 to L3. Do you follow?
Yes, sir.
Thumbs up if you are with me. All right. Then we said that the left grooves, okay, from the bodies and intervertebral disc of L1 and L2. Left grooves has three origin. Left grooves has three origin. First one, L1 and L2. Remember, right grooves come from L1, L2, and L what? L3. Good. Now, the next one is from a pair of medial arcuate ligament, which is attached to the side of body of L1 or L2 vertebra, and lateral to the tip All right, so we are continuing. We have talked up to the origin. You said that the diaphragm has so many origin. Three basically. Okay, sternum, costa, and vertebra. The vertebra has two screws. The right screw is from bodies and intervertebral disc of L1, L2, and L3. And then we have that they don't do that now. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so let's continue. So he said the left cruise, okay, has number one origin from the L1 and L2. That's the bodies and intervertebral disc of the L1 and L2. Do you follow?
Yes.
Okay. Now the next one is there's another origin from the medial arcuate ligament, mal, okay, which attaches to the body of the L1 and L2 and L3. L1, L2, and 3, and the transversus process. Do you follow?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Friends, so we move on. We said now the third one, remember the first one is from the bodies and intervertebral discs of L1 and L2. While the second one in the left cruise of the vertebra is from the medial arcuate ligament, which is attached to the L1 and L2 and laterally, okay, to the tip of transverse process of L1 and L2. You follow?
Yes.
So it is attached to the side of the body of, in fact, if you even say it's attached to L1, L2, it's okay. It's okay. Whether the transverse process or the side of it is okay. Now the next one is from the pair of lateral arcuate ligament, which is attached medially to the tip of the transverse process of L1 vertebra and laterally to the lower border of 12 ribs near its midpoint. So the attachment of this is what? This one is lateral arcuate ligament. Lala, mala, lama. Okay. You have the L1. You have what? The R12. R12. Those are the attachment. So this one is from the lateral arcuate ligament. Okay. Attached to the tip of transverse process of L1. Okay, so the transverse process of L1 has a bit, Jesus Christ, has a bit of attachment by the side and by the tip for the medial arcuate ligament and the lateral arcuate ligament. Fine, let's look at insertion. Let's look at insertion of the diaphragm. At the central tendon situated in the middle depressed part of the diaphragm near the sternum. Do you follow?
Yes, sir.
Central tendon. So it inserts at central tendon. That's all. Remember, tendon connects muscle to bones. Okay, so at the central tendons, it's situated in the middle depressed part of the diaphragm near the sternum. Let's look at the opening. The opening we say VOA, VOA. The three opening. So for opening we have two basic types: major opening and minor opening. The major opening we say VOA. Voir. Okay, the verb avoir. Funny to me. Vena caval opening, that's the first opening. The next opening is esophageal opening. And the last opening is aortic opening. Do you follow? Those are the opening, three openings. Vena caval opening, esophageal opening, aortic opening. Alright, let's learn one extra thing about this opening. The vena cava opening lies in the central tendon of the diaphragm. T8 about 2.5 cm right to middle, shape quadrilateral. So this is about arteries now. So we will not look at this when we are looking at arteries and anastomosis. We'll look at this. But here what is just expected is just write something about that. Okay, let's move at the minor opening. They said each cross of diaphragm is pierced by greater and lesser splanchnic nerve. The left cross is pierced in addition by hemiazygous vein. So what's the first minor opening? Number one. What's the first minor opening? Number one. It is the opening pierced by greater and lesser splanchnic nerve. Greater and lesser splanchnic nerve. And then there's another one pierced by the left, by the hemiazygos. So both the left and the right is pierced by what? Splanchnic nerve. Greater and lesser splanchnic nerve. Whereas the left cross alone is pierced by what? Hemiazygous vein. Don't forget this is one of the veins that drains into accessory hemiazygos. We have said that before. Okay. Then we have subcostal nerve. Before that, we have sympathetic trunk, passes from thorax abdomen behind medial arcuate ligament. So that's another opening. Okay. There's another opening where the sympathetic trunk passes over. All right, so we move on. I'm still talking about the opening, major opening, voir, that is vena cava opening, esophageal opening, and aortic opening. Now, so moving away from here, we now quickly talk about the relations. We are done with the openings. The opening pierced by passed by sympathetic trunk. The one passed by subcostal nerve. The one done by sympathetic trunk nerve. The one done by superior epigastric vessels. The one done by musculophrenic vessel. Okay, so the greater and lesser phrenic, all right, and then which other one? Greater and lesser phrenic nerve, sympathetic trunk nerve, okay, subcostal trunk nerve, hemiazygous vein, okay, superior epigastric, and the musculophrenic. So SMS, SMS, CSMS. You can put it SMS, SMSS, SMS. Where the first S is for what? The
The first S is
the first S you have the superior epigastric. The next S is subcostal. Okay. M is musculophrenic. Okay. Then the E is what? The E is what? Is for each greater and lesser splenic nerve. Okay, so we continue. Relations. Okay, relations superior and inferior. Talk about the relations superior and inferior. Superior and inferior. We have done 1 hour 30 minutes on this call, and we want to call it a day. Okay, we meet again in the night. We talk about the diaphragm. I'm still building this business bit by bit till we are fine. Okay, so that we'll be able to catch. Remember, we learn in piecemeal. We don't pack everything, we learn piecemeal. So when we come back, we should be able to say what we learn. Is that clear? All right, thank you very much. Once again, subscribe to the channel, share and learn. Let it reach out to many anatomy students and physiology and biochemistry students, in fact, preclinical students who are doing medicine and surgery, nursing, pharmacy, optometry, MLS, public health, anatomy, physiology, up there, name them, all the courses that are paraclinical or clinical, pre-paraclinical or paraclinical, whatever you want to call it. Okay, let them join, let them enjoy. Get the channel Made Such Course Mastery. It's a WhatsApp channel where you come and share with us what you have learned in any session we have got. Once again, thank you very much. It's a pleasure, and I wish we meet by 9 p.m. 9 p.m. That one is wow. We didn't do it yesterday because of some ick and glitch. Tonight we are going to do it. Okay, set alarm, get like 4 or 5 persons to wake you so that you don't miss this for anything. It's a miss it and hiss it affair. If you miss it, you will hiss. Okay, let's discuss anatomy of the upper and lower limb thorax. That's what we do in the night. 9 p.m. is the time, and we'll be fine. Our guests will be joining us. You can be that guest just for you to join, and that's all. Once again, thank you very much. Good to see you.